Yan. Good afternoon everyone. Yung report ko is yung planning phase, which is yung second phase of the project management. Yan. It involves the actions necessary to think and organize the activities necessary to achieve the goals of the project. Bale, during this phase, a plan is created that defines more clearly the precise tasks required to produce the project products and services, and it also establishes estimates of resource needs and related costs, saka yung amount of time required to perform the necessary work. Yun nga, bale, sa plan, nandun yung in-estimate yung resources need, saka yung related costs, saka yung mga required tasks para ma-produce yung product, saka yung amount of time necessary for work. Saka another important aspect of this phase is the arrangement of the tasks during the life cycle so they can be form a project schedule. Yun nga, bale, during this phase, yung scope is being sharpened, and this means that the project goes from wide view and broadly described as aspirational or defined, and to be more tactical and detailed means refined yan. Bale, syempre, lacking plans is a surefire way to fail. Plans need to be reviewed and approved by significant stakeholders before major project work begins. Project launch is also important and should happen after planning phase is complete and resources are committed. Starting the major work before this happens is often a recipe for trouble. Yun nga, syempre, planning is essential for success because it translates the what of the project into how. It defines not only the activities that provide the steps and achieve the goals, but should also be accompanied by the identification of resources required to make the concept a reality. Yun nga, syempre, kasama rin dito sa plan yung yung plans allow all involved to know what to expect from each person and collectively providing clarity of purpose, accountability, and transparency. Siyempre, ito pa, planning involves the creation of a list required tasks and activities. Yun nga, bale, this defines what must be done to get the work done that will accomplish the goals and objectives. Siyempre, dun sa plan, dapat meron tayong efficient sequence of activities, kasi pag hindi sunod-sunod yung activities na ginagawa, magkakaroon tayo ng inefficient execution and extensive stop and go situation. Bale, pag nagkaroon ng ganun, mag-i-increase yung cost sa delay ng project. Syempre, pag yung dapat una, hindi yun yung nauna, bale magkakaroon talaga ng stop kasi dapat yun yung unahin. Yan. Estimating the duration of the activities identified in the planning phase can be difficult. Ito na, sa plan, di ba, ini-estimate din yung amount of time required to perform the necessary work. Bale, meron tayong mga methods saka techniques para ma-estimate yung time para sa isang project. Siyempre, underestimating time can be caused by limited knowledge and experience of the project management. Yun nga. And lastly, taking longer than original estimates can be the result of unexpected developments during the performance of the work, such as delays by third parties. Kaya malaking epekto nung pag-estimate nung time. Syempre, pag nagkamali ka ng estimate, sumobra yung time, mas mag-i-increase yung cost. Yan, ito yung ginagamit sa pag-estimate ng time. The critical path method and the program evaluation and review technique. Yan, while planning projects, the manager must identify the activities necessary to achieve the project goals and the sequence of these activities as well, because there are often dependencies between them, so some activities cannot be performed unless preceding one have been completed. Yun nga, gaya nga ng sabi ko kanina, dapat merong sequence yung mga activities na gagawin para sunod-sunod siya. Kasi kailangan merong ibang activities na cannot be performed unless the preceding ones have been completed. Yun, bale yung PERT, ano siya, ginagamit siya para i-calculate yung probability of time para matapos yung project. Yan. Both techniques use a network arrows and nodes to show the project activities. The arrow shows the task dependencies, while the nodes show where the tasks interconnected. Yun nga. The arrow shows the relationship and sequence of the activities, while the nodes typically have information in them, such as the activity number, the number of tasks, and the amount of time needed to complete it. Yun, metrics such as the earliest start, earliest finish, the latest start, the latest finish for each activity provide clarity to what and when activities must be performed. Yan nga. Bale, kanina yung mga nodes saka arrows, yun yung nagpapakita kung kailan kung ano na yung mga tapos, ano yun na yung mga natapos na, yung mga hindi pa tapos, yung mga ganun, para makapagbigay ng clarity, para malaman kung ano na yung mga activities na natapos na. With the time estimates, the CPM shows the project critical path and where there is slack time. The sequence of tasks on a project that will take longer than any other set of tasks to get project completed and have zero slack constitute the critical path. Yan nga. Since the project cannot be completed any earlier than shown on the critical path determines the earliest completion date. Due to this path should receive a great deal of attention because any delays on the critical path delays the completion date for the entire project unless future time frames can be shortened. This is essential concept to minimize delays and work with a sense of urgency and clear direction. Yan. It is fairly common for the duration of an activity to have range of values due to multiple estimates. So managers may want to establish an optimistic estimates, pessimistic estimate and the most likely scenario. Syempre yung optimistic estimate yung assuming that everything works according to the plan. Pessimistic estimate, this is based on the assumption that things could go wrong and the activities takes a long time to be completed, and most likely scenario based on a reasonable assumption that the activity is performed according to the normal circumstances and the completion time lies between the optimistic and the pessimistic estimates. Bala yan. Since these estimates range from the worst to the best possible scenario, managers should take the weighted average instead of relying on a single estimate. To avoid putting too much emphasis on either extreme of the values, the pessimistic and optimistic values are compared to 4 times the most likely duration. For example, yan. If the amount of time required to perform data analytics has an estimate of 2 optimistic, 4 most likely, and 8 pessimistic days, we can calculate the time to address the customer needs using the following formula. Yan. Bale, ano lang to T. Yun nandito. T. Yung time estimates yan. Bale, equal siya dun sa TO, which means yung optimistic time estimates. Yung TM naman, most likely time estimate, saka yung TP, pessimistic time estimate. Bale, pag-add din lang yung TO, saka yung most likely time estimate, saka pessimistic time estimate, saka i-divide sa 6. Yan yung formula. Bale, syempre, yung TO, ano siya, di ba? 2, yung optimistic time, kanina sinabi ko. Tapos yung TM naman, yung most likely time, 4 days. Tapos yung sa pessimistic time, 8 days. Bale, pag inad-add lahat yun, tapos dinivide sa 6, equal siya sa 4.3 days. Bale, yung time ng project para matapos, equal siya sa 4.3 days. Yan, executing phase. Ito na yung third phase ng project. This phase is when the actual doing takes place. The major objective is to keep the project on track after it has been launched and do what the plan calls for. Leader works with the project team and need to make sure they are meeting with the quality requirements and the deadlines within the timeline agreed upon, while judiciously using the resources allocated to project. Yun nga, di ba? Kailangan ma-monitor sa makontrol yung ng leader yung mga ka-team niya para kung nagagawa ba mga mga tasks on time na agreed upon, saka yung mga resources na allocate ng maayos sa project. Yan, the concept and plan are acted on. Some of the most important activities during this phase include leading and managing the team, meeting with the team members, and communicating with stakeholders. Yan nga. Siyempre, communication is key of one of the key reasons project fails. Effective communication must occur with all stakeholders, including project sponsors, vendors, users, and financial units. Making sure that supplies are received on time is essential, but quality issues must be communicated and corrected immediately as well. Another common issue involves delays communicating for future needs, so lead times are insufficient and what is needed arrives late, causing delays or addition costs as expediting fees are assessed and added. While often undesirable, conflict is to be expected during project management. It is best to avoid any kind of conflict that can be derail the successful work of the project. But when it occurs, it must be resolved promptly and effectively. Unresolved conflict generates resentment and can lead to poor performance, lack of cooperation among those involved, and absenteeism and excessive turnover. The PM is the person is responsible for managing project teams' dynamic and resolving them. It must be remembered, however, that dysfunctional conflict is often a result of poor planning and expectation settings and delays at addressing the early signs of disagreements. When problem left unresolved, the problem seldom go away. In fact, they usually fester, grow larger, and costlier. Yan. Another element of effective project management is obtaining necessary resources when needed. Delays or inadequate substitution can be very damaging to the successful completion of the project and often occur when conditions are unexpected and there is a rush to address them. Performing a project risk assessment, identifying control points and contingencies will go a long way toward avoiding or properly addressing these issues. Progress reports that include relevant KPIs are a great tool to identify issues promptly and monitor their remediation. Yan, that's all. Thank you po. The next reporter is Erica Agustin.